This is Bishop Dr. Ethan Ogletree, and this is our podcast two of this year. Remember, I'm coming to help you make it through the year. God has placed in my spirit to do these podcasts. Ours is titled Good Flows. The prayers for the whole year. You hear me speaking to your life about having a good flow. John 7 and 38b section says, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. You know how we plan goals, visions, New Year's resolutions, and we start out on track, we do well, and when you know it, after 30, 60, 90 days, we get distracted, we get off track, and it just goes crazy. Well, good flow, my hope is through this process, I will be able to help you stay on course, that you will see some of the greatest things God has planned for your life. When you remember that, remember, flow is like a continuous movement. It's like a continuous flow of water that is moving, but guess what? It's moving in a certain direction. Richard Rohr said faith does not need to push the river because faith is able to trust that the river is there. The river is what? Flowing. Guess what? We are in it. The Holy Spirit is our flow. It helps us to flow through the process of how God blessed us. It's in you. And as we grow to trust God in every way, we'll see God moving major in our lives for the whole year. It doesn't mean you won't face some trouble, you won't get distracted. It doesn't mean that you won't have some detours, but we trust that the river of God, the Holy Spirit, is flowing in our lives. Listen to this. I thought this would be exciting to know the longest and the shortest rivers that we know about in the world. The longest river which can be navigated is the Amazon River in South America. It has 2,236 miles of navigability. I'm sorry, I messed up that word. You know, Bishop, you can navigate through. These waters end in the Atlantic Ocean. In another case, there's another river that is the shortest river. It's in the United States. It's in Oregon. You can only navigate through it 440 miles. It goes into the Pacific Ocean. It's called the D River. I brought both of those up because regardless if you on the Amazon River or the D River, they still flow. And whether they are long or whether it is short, it flows into a bigger ocean. The Holy Spirit, that's what he wants you to know. He's flowing in you and you flow back in him if you trust that the river in your belly will continue to flow. Here's something I want you to keep up with. This week, we're talking about predestination. Predestination versus free will. Predestination is the thought of God as subject expressed in one's life. It's the appointment of God, appointing of a situation for a particular person, or the arrangement beforehand that God has put in place, or an appointment beforehand. Predestination in reality is that God has a divine hand. The invisible hand of God is moving. It is foreordained, preordained. It's before you even thought, before you was born, God has already designed that life for you. God's purpose and plan, regardless of your wilderness, regardless of how hard life gets, regardless of the troublesome circumstance, it is for you to flow through it, through his blessings and his favor. Jeremiah 29:11, we know that text. It says that I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for you to prosper, plans for you to have hope. And I like this text, not to harm you, but one translation says, and a prophetic end. If we believe that, we learn that through this year, whatever comes our way, we're going to keep flowing because we trust that the rivers in us, in our bellies, the Holy Spirit, will help us have a good flow. Psalms 139:16, I would write that text down and just keep it. It said, your eyes saw my embryo, and in your book they all were written days, fashioned for me when there was not one of them. Meaning before you were even born, God had already these appointments, these seasons, these times that gift you that if you got in it, he could get you out. Whatever he was going to do, he was getting you ready for the next destination. Remember, nothing that God has set before him is hard. He's God. He's in control. He's sovereign. We are the ones who make life hard. We are the ones who make it difficult. We allow views of conversations from the outside world to limit our God-given potential. That's why we need to understand this key, this term, this thought, free will. God has blessed us with free will. And we're different from all creation. Birds are created to fly. All they do is fly. Fish are created to swim. All they do, they live in the ocean. They can't decide to switch up. A bird can't decide to live in the water. Fish can't decide to fly. They can't decide to live outside of their created zone. Mankind, humans, have been able to been created to live and have free will to choose to eat, not to eat, to choose to fly or to ride the bus. We have choice. Free will, this simply means you have a choice. Look at this. We have a choice to go right or left. We have a choice to quit or to work hard towards success. We have a choice to believe and believe in God or not believe in God. We have a choice because God has given us the freedom to choose. I think if we look at that quickly, if we look at that right, it doesn't matter about your age, but especially for the chronological mature, we all can collectively look at our past and then look at our future into it. And if we be honest, we've all made some strange choices. Here's some notes I want you to take for you to have a good flow going into this year. Several things, write them down, keep them in your notes. First, acknowledge where you missed it. One of the dangers, I think, is when you never do a self-evaluation. I'm constantly, every day, going through what did I miss? Did I overlook it? Did I hear this right? Did I calculate this right? Too many of us want to blame others when in reality we ought to look first inside of us to see where we missed it. Too many of us want to blame God or the church or friends or family. Did you miss it? Begin, watch this, number 2, write it down. Begin to learn from your errors and strive to do better. What did you correct? What did you mess up? I remember playing football back in the day. I was pretty decent. Coach used to say, practice right, you play right. And in practice, if we messed up a certain play, he would make us do it over and over again. The reason why, watch this, people, he said the film won't make a mistake. The film never lies. That means that the film that you are looking at bring up to the point that when game time is played, they can go back and see the error you made, that you were corrected in practice. I hate it sometimes watching film. Watch this, write it down. Remain connected to the original dream God has planned for you. We get off track because sometimes of disappointment, pain, pressure, rejection. The people we thought that started with us would complete with us. And that's not always true. You got to stay connected to the dream God gave you. You have to be careful letting someone else or other things take you off your God-given path or dream. And that's up to you. That's up to you trusting the plan and voice of God. If family, friends, you might lose some people close at times, but you have to trust that if that's the good flow, the God plan predestined for you, you must live it out in your life. Look at this, write it down. Number 4, God has predestined you, and he will get you there somehow. Now that's the mystery to me. God knows our tomorrow. He knows our next week, our next month. We don't. And it appears that the enemy will work hard, very hard, to distract our flow. And the weariness of life and the cost of life weighs in on us to make us sometimes forget that it's in God's hand. And if God started it and God called us, we'll get there in the end. There's a good flow. Before I let you go, let me give you this. I was reading this the other day, that we need to check the geographical flow of rivers. When you look at rivers, rivers provide us with energy. They provide us with food. Rivers provide us with recreation. Rivers provide us with transportation routes. Rivers provides these courses of water flows for irrigation and drinking. Rivers carry a lot, and you and I need to know the pathway and the beginnings of rivers. Many rivers start at the mountaintops where snow melts and it comes down and these hills, and it flows down as it melts, and then they collect together and form, watch this, tiny streams. And as these streams flow together, they are called gullies. And gullies continue to get wider, they grow larger, and then before you know it and we know it, they might connect with another stream, and they're called a tributary. And a tributary, it grows wider. And then before you know it, it becomes so wide, it connects and flows into a river. And then the river sometimes end up flowing into the ocean. That's what God does us on a good flow. Something in our lives have to trust God. Our hearts, our souls have to melt, because a good flow from the Holy Spirit gives us energy. Drink this water, you'll never thirst again. It'll provide us food, irrigation. It provides us transportation. The Holy Spirit will guide you. We have to flow, melt, and then we flow into something. As we grow wider, we grow in faith. As we grow wider, we grow in ministry. As it stretches us out, we connect with the right people. And God will keep pouring into your life. That not only would you provide, he will provide energy for you, but through the Holy Spirit, you will help provide energy, guidance and direction, food and drink for somebody else. I want to let you go. God bless you. I pray you had a great time. Take these notes. Remember, good flow is like rivers of water flowing from your belly, and it'll never end. God bless. Take care.